episode of Let's Get It Right with me, your host, Vernon Wright. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at The Right Leader, hashtag That's Impact the Right Way. And as well, be sure to follow the two hashtags, Spirit of Grit and the Many Voices of Grit. Make sure that you follow both of those hashtags. So today, once again, another fabulous, great guest that we have with us today on the show. And I know that you all are going to enjoy this guest as well. The conversations he and I have had offline, off camera, have been nothing short of phenomenal. And I am so privileged, honored, pleased, and absolutely grateful to be able to share that with you all today. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce today's guest for this episode. His name is Kris Felicello. He is an assistant superintendent from New York State, and he is here on the show today with us. Kris, for those that know you, and also too, obviously, for those that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Vernon. Thank you for having me today. It's such an honor to be here and to speak with you. As you said before, we've had a lot of great conversations about education and really seem to be aligned philosophically and have learned from one another. But my background here is as an assistant superintendent, as you said, in Rockland County, New York. I started my career many years ago as a physical education teacher, a little further upstate from where I am now. I was also a coach, a basketball coach, a football coach, a golf coach. And then I moved over to athletics, and athletic director was my first administrative position. So I was an athletic director and an assistant principal in a different district. And from there, I found out I was being promoted to be a middle school principal, keeping the athletic director piece. And during that time, I really enjoyed the work so much as a principal that I gave up the athletic side of the house and went to be a middle school principal in the district that I'm currently in, North Rockland. I've been here now. This is my, it's my 12th year here. I've been a middle school principal. I've been assistant superintendent for human resources, and now I'm an assistant superintendent for educational services. And, just very lucky to have worked with so many great people and learned from so many great people over the years. And I've really enjoyed my path as an educator, so to speak. More recently, I've started a blog just over a year now with my friend Gary Armida, who's a teacher in our district, called The Teacher and the Admin. And that's been a wonderful experience as well, to share ideas and share wins and losses and all the good things and all the mistakes along the way. So it's been quite a journey.
Man, I want to go ahead and say once again, ladies and gentlemen, with Kris, he is another example of the guests that we have on this show that are well steeped in experience. Individuals, ladies and gentlemen, that they know about theory, but there is no shortage of practice that they have lived out in their leadership lives. So with that, Kris, I just want to go ahead and say personally a thank you to you on camera, and want to go ahead and let everyone know, if you are not following the teacher and admin, you need to go ahead and do it today. Of course, obviously watch the episode first and then go ahead and follow on Twitter. You will see that information on the screen. I highly recommend it. Fresh content, perspectives, opinions, and insights that they offer. And it's good stuff. It really, really is, and speaks to where people are at in their career. So, Kris, with that being said, very pleased again and grateful for you to be on the show. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions for today. So, question number one, talk to us a little bit about times in your life where you were going through some situations, you were going through some things, and maybe you didn't realize that there were grit in real time. But later on, you said to yourself and realized that was grit. Talk to us a little bit about those situations and your perception of them, and really, how did you navigate through those situations in your own life?
Yeah, Vernon, I think back to my time as a teacher and as I was transitioning to become an administrator. And as I said, I was an athletic director, and that was what I really always wanted to be. I had a background in sports and athletics and coaching, and the position opened up as athletic director in the district that I was working in. It was a district upstate near Woodstock, actually, and we encompassed the Woodstock School District. And the athletic director position opened up, and you know, I interviewed for it. It was something that I really had wanted, and you know, there were some people in the district that saw me as the right person, others that didn't, and you know, it ended up that I did not get the position, and I was really, you know, devastated at the time, and was hurt and disappointed, and I, you know, I remember feeling a lot of different emotions during that period. It was definitely disappointment. It was definitely, you know, some touches of anger, and probably the strongest one out of all of them was embarrassment. You know, coming to work every day, and people, you know, that thought maybe I was going to get that position or that was going to be my position, and facing them every day, and you know, I just made up my mind at that point that I was going to do my thing. I was going to come to work. I had a great job as a physical education teacher. I was a coach. I got to work with great administrators at a wonderful high school principal. I had wonderful students that I worked with, and I was going to come and do my job every day. And even though my internship was over at that point, I continued to act as the intern throughout the year, and the rest of that year with my boss, and anything that she needed me to do, I was willing to do. And you know, as hard as it was, I tried to keep my head up high, and you know, not to say there weren't things that I said wrong or did wrong during that period, but for me, that was a real learning experience, and you know, looking back, it's an experience in my life that I'm proud of. And I often talk to friends of mine, whether they're in my district or whether they're in other districts, that maybe turn down for a position that they want, and tell that story and say it happens to all of us for whatever reason. And you know, I look back and think of how lucky I am that I didn't get that position, because I wouldn't be where I am today. I would never have met my wife. I would have never have, you know, had all the great people I've met here, all the opportunities in my career. So as hard as that was, and as upset as I was, for me, it was important to keep doing every day and keep plugging every day, because there will be opportunities, there will be successes, there will be disappointments in your career, but you have to work through those, and you have to stand tall and lift your head up high and deal with them. And you know, for me, that was a special time. And you know, I felt, like I said earlier, a little angry, and I felt, you know, why not me, and why didn't they pick me for that job? And you know, I look back, and I didn't interview well for that position. It was very difficult. Anybody that's interviewed with people that they know, it's very difficult to interview with people you know, number one. And you know, people see you in a certain light. I was hired as a 21-year-old kid out of college, and as a physical education teacher, and I was seen that way. And it was hard for people to see me in a different light as a leader of the athletic department, as an administrator in the district. And you know, I've come to realize that sometimes it's okay to go to a new opportunity, to a new district, to a new experience. And I've tried to give that advice to friends and colleagues and people that are coming up into the profession as well.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And I will tell you, even in my own career, there were positions that I interviewed for, and I thought it was a loss, right? And, you know, hindsight is 20/20, as the saying goes. And what I thought in real time was a loss was really a win. And it was really setting me up for a number of future successes. And, you know, I just want to go ahead and say thank you for sharing that, because it shows, once again, as we have this ongoing dialogue and we share and exchange ideas about grit, that the things that we go through sometimes may on the surface appear to be disadvantageous. But in reality, you let a little bit of time pass, and you look back at it, right? Those moments of introspection and those moments of looking back. And you see that sometimes some of those things were the best opportunities that they ever could have been for you to advance by not getting some other position, right? So I want to thank you for saying that, because I've experienced that in my own life as well. And I think to myself, you know, why in the world did I want that position?
Sure.
You know, and you ask yourself, just being very honest, you know, what in the world was I thinking about when I wanted that position? I'm glad I didn't get that position, because like you said, all these other things would not have taken place. With about 5 minutes left here in the episode, want to ask you a couple of quick questions real quick. Number one is this. If someone were to come to you and say, Kris, I've listened to your story. I've listened to some of the things that you've shared. I've listened to some of the things that you've mentioned even on this episode. How would you help them find grit in their own lives? How would you help navigate them through? with that process?
Yeah, we often have our preconceived notions of what grit may be, but that doesn't look the same for everyone. And we don't know what everybody is going through in their own lives, their own struggles, the things that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I think about a student of mine. I had this student as an 8th grader. He was a language learner, came from a different country, didn't speak the language well, and was always a great kid and lit up a room, but never a serious student. Was a challenge for me as a principal. But he went on to high school, and his family business was a restaurant, and then he kind of left for a few years. And I got a call from him this year, and he had told me that he had went back to his home country to get himself his paperwork correct so that he would be here legally and be able to do this. And he actually got caught over there in the transition of everything, and was stuck for 2 years, unable to come back to this country with his dad and his father's restaurant and such. And he was coming back and reaching out to me and saying, how can I get my high school diploma? This is the credits that I'm short with, and this is what I need to do, but I still need to work in the restaurant. And I look at this kid, he's 20 years old, and what a difference. I mean, he's a hard worker. He works every day and every night in his dad's restaurant, and he makes it work in school, and he is going to graduate this year. And to think about, for me, that's grit. That shows true grit. Somebody that was over there for 2 years, where a place he didn't want to be, and now he's back day to day, working till all hours of the night, and then getting up and going to school and doing what he needs to do.
Absolutely. And that's someone that really, I'm going to tell you, there was a famous musical artist, who said years ago, and I thought it was very important, the point that this musical artist made, and I thought it was a very significant point, and it was this. The musical artist said, when I really started to experience success was when I became sold on me. I became sold on myself, right?
Yeah.
I became sold on myself, and I became sold on who I was. I became committed to my own success. And that young man definitely sounds, from what you have shared with us today, that it sounds like he reached that point where he just said, you know what, I am absolutely, totally committed to my own success, and I'm going to live that out. And I'm going to make that a reality. And that is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. That is a great one. Ladies and gentlemen, that's when that you, if you're watching this episode, or you watch this episode with your classes, for those that are in the classroom, that's a portion that you may really want to go ahead and play for your students to listen to really inspire them and give them some perspective. As we go into the last question, with roughly about 2 to 3 minutes left, I want to go ahead and ask you, Kris, if you had the opportunity, and typically this is my favorite question out of all three, if you had the opportunity to get in a time machine and go back in time and give a letter to your younger self, what advice, guidance, and wisdom would you put in that letter to your younger self?
Yeah, that's a great question, Vernon. And, I've learned in my time in education over 25 years that it's really about the people and the relationships, and all the kids that we get to know, and all the teachers we work with, and administrators we work with, the parents. And it's really a business about people and about relationships. And there's so many people that come in and out of our lives, and so many great educators, so many great students that I've gotten to know over the years. And I consider them friends, even though some of them I haven't spoken to in years. If I were to go back, I would tell myself, value all of those relationships, because you don't know when, you're just ships passing in the wind, right? And when somebody's going to be out of your life. You work with somebody every day, day in and day out, and have lunch with them, or see them in the hallway, or ride to work with them. And then you get a new job, or they leave, or they retire, or whatever it may be, or a student graduates. And that you don't have that same type of relationship where you see them every day. I think it's so important to value each of those relationships, and all of that time that you have with all the wonderful people that come in and out of your life. And whether it's professionally or whether it's personally, that's what I'd like to tell myself. Really cherish those moments, drink them in, and really learn as much as you can from all the great people that you've met.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Experience those moments, be present in those moments, live those moments, cherish the moments for what they are as you're going through them. And obviously as well, cherish those moments in retrospect as well. So I want to go ahead and say thank you, Kris, for being on the show today. Wonderful episode. This is one, ladies and gentlemen, you will want to, once again, as with many of the other episodes, share with others and pay it forward. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The title of this episode, as you see on your screen, is New York Grit. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy and learn from the New York Grit. And until next time, always remember, feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. That's impact the right way. See you next time.